we got a podcast thingy going.
got
Yay.
some motherfucking again.
Yay, okay. First off, let's be professional about this, guys. Let's introduce our charming and charismatic host, Aiden.
Rex!
Better known as Zillowite on cool places on the internet, like the Drooby stream.
It's basically the most well-known place.
Then we have Patrick.
Yep. Not well-known at all, because I have 17 different names on the internet, which are all retarded.
Better known as Retard. And then we got Noreen.
Hi.
Better on the internet.
The quiet person who's never played the game that we are about to talk about. And is only in the call because she's a wizard who can apparently enter this call.
Yeah. Yep. Basically it.
That sums it up nicely.
Yeah, it does.
On our first episode here, we'll be talking about this little game called Katawa Shoujo is the actual Japan pronunciation. Yeah. Probably. So anyways, that's probably its name. I guess because we're being professional about this, I'll explain the game to all you noobs, all you filthy casuals, you non-weeaboo idiots.
Like, that's a question for all the non-weeaboo idiots. How'd you goddamn find this video? How'd you?
They're just like, this looks like a fun video to watch. It's all our diehard fans, dude.
All the drooby people.
No, they're all weeaboos. So anyways, this game is a game released in 2012 for the Sega Dreamcast.
Yep, re-released on the Xbox and then re-released on the PC.
Yeah, it had a port to the PC. Its original title on the consoles was Sonic Racing. It was then renamed to Halo Combat Evolved and then later named Katawa Shoujo for the PC port. Every new iteration patched the gameplay slightly, providing slight differences, but they're mostly the same games.
For the PC port, they took out the gameplay. People, they want a few tweaks, so they just took it out.
There were too many bugs, so they got rid of it.
Yeah.
The story, they didn't have a story in the original Sonic. Halo is known for having no story. Very boring campaigns, that's what Halo's famous for. So they decided that they'd up that category. So then they made it only a story, which was not a very good development idea. I think Chris Metzen made a mistake there, which is probably why he now works at Riot, working on Heroes of New Earth. So this game was made in 2012. It started production in 2007 after a whole bunch of people on 4chan got together and decided that they were going to make a game. And this was the game that they decided to make.
It's based on like a concept that one guy made. Like
Who even cares about that? The basic idea of the story is your protagonist, named Hisao, has a heart attack, nearly dies, and ends up spending 4 months in a hospital before being told that he's gonna have to move to a school for disabled people. I'm gonna turn my music slightly up. That should be enough. In this school, why would you send emoticons at us, Noreen? Just use your words.
Use your words.
You're allowed to interrupt me.
Guess not.
Okay. Rip in peace, Noreen. Light that shines brightest. So, she's mad because she doesn't know why she's here, and we don't know why she's here, so she's just kind of here. So she'll probably end up leaving at some point after she gets fed up with dealing with us. This is what tends to happen. So, the So your character has a heart attack, and he ends up going to a school called Yumaku, and he will spend the rest of his high school career there.
Which is a few months.
I'm pretty sure it's a year after, but I don't know.
Something stupid.
Well, at this school, he meets a variety of very interesting characters, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Some more, but they're still there.
Ultimately,
Shove themselves down your goddamn throat.
Ultimately, though, this video is not made for people who have not played the game. It's made for people who have finished everything in the game. Meaning even Patrick isn't really supposed to watch this video.
Yeah, only Noreen and Aiden should really be here. They're the experts.
Yeah, but Aiden told me never to play it, so it doesn't matter.
Feel free to play it if you really want to. I'm not gonna stop
I have priorities.
No.
I have standards.
Yeah.
It's like
There's rock bottom,
just like
and then there's going to rock bottom, and then drilling through it.
Misha's drills.
God damn it, Patrick. Okay, so the general structure that we're going to go through here is we're going to go into each of the 5 storylines that the game's divided into, and kind of discuss. And I'm going to start with the ones that Patrick has more knowledge in, meaning the ones that he's actually played, and kind of work our way backwards from there.
Yeah.
So, we will start with the first one that he played, and the first one that I played. That one being Hanako.
Yeah.
Hanako is a burn victim whose scars left her with extremely severe social anxiety. Looking at her the wrong way, speaking too loudly, even just enough people giving her too much attention can cause her to freeze up and basically go potato on you. So, slightly screwed up character.
Slightly.
So we don't really have a structure here, so let's just start with Patrick. Say, what were your thoughts, just in general, on the character during the first act, before it actually officially became her storyline and started developing her? What were your thoughts on the character for the first act?
I feel like she doesn't like jump out in the first act. Like, if you want to go down her route, it's like you want to go down it. It's not like she doesn't jump out as you anything interesting really happens unless you are trying to go down her path. Like, if you're just playing through it to go like see who I end up with, you're probably not going to end up with her, because getting down her path is really you're trying to. You're clearly going out of your way to make decisions to go down her path. And she's really just kind of quiet, and you see her in the library and short conversations. When you first meet her, you have like a 5-second conversation before she kind of just like freaks out and runs out of the library.
Literally runs away from you.
Yep, and slurs her words. Is like, I gotta go some more, and then because he sounds hideous. His hideous face, like, oh god, I can't stand this human being.
I'm one of the burn scars, and even I'm disgusted. So, here's what I thought. First time playing the game, I didn't know anything about it. I knew negative about this game. You probably, like, if you asked me what the protagonist's name was a few days later, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But
Yeah.
I started playing this game, and I was thinking, okay, excuse me, all of these characters look kind of boring.
Yeah.
Of the first 4 that are introduced to you, the only one that really looked like there was some kind of story there to be had was her, just because of the way that she's presented as this mystery. You don't know where the scars come from. She appears from off of the screen for short seconds and then disappears. The only conversations that you end up having with her last mere seconds before she runs away. So she's just kind of like, what is this person's deal? What caused this person to be this way? So kinda it spurred you to figure out what could have led to such a character. And it makes you want to learn. And that I thought that was kind of interesting, the way it handled that. So that's what kind of made me want to do it to start, because I wanted to know the story of specifically the scars. I just really wanted to know where did the scars come from? How did that happen? And that ended up being a fairly minor point among everything else, to be honest.
And
But-
like learning about her scars, like it wasn't that like after I learned it, I wasn't like, whoa! It was kind of like you could kind of guess it. It's not
Yeah,
this big surprise, but it is a thing that happens.
it does happen.
It is. It is.
I would be lying if I said it did not happen in the plot.
I thought it would play a bigger role. Would be.
Yeah, I thought it would be the same way, but
It's just kind of you. She tells
that's
you.
because they just they use that to draw you in and lure you to the storyline, and then they hit you with the actual storyline that they had planned. Here's the problem with talking about this route. I kind of forgot all of it. Because the last time I played it, I was very, very tired and very, very sick. So,
It also feels kind of like there are parts that feel kind of forgettable because a lot of it is just you and her trying to do things, trying to get her to be more
yeah,
outgoing.
the big
And
problem that I found was it seems to be very much filler.
It feels very repetitive.
I've talked about this somewhere else too. The absolute biggest problem it has is that it hypes itself up, if that makes any sense. Just because of the mere nature of the character, excuse me, the design of the character.
She's the kawaii character. She is. She is the kawaii character. She is
The what?
The kawaii character.
Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, she's the kawaii character. Like makes it sweet to look at for you and be like, senpai. Like,
Wait.
like think about it.
He is saying that the way the character is designed, it is very clearly meant to be a character that appeals to a very specific sort of person.
Like,
It is a character that is
Very
fairly
sure.
weak and helpless, and you know, kind of, I'm gonna go be her knight in shining armor, her Superman.
I'm gonna use my sword to save her, and by sword I mean dick. It's like really perverted Hisao.
So
Have sex with her.
it's just the entire plot. It's just the exact same game with the exact same lines, except he's just saying like, "Oh my God, stop talking to me." Just this utterly reprehensible human being. We're getting off topic slightly. So it's a character who is designed. Oh my God. Oh, it's not safe to go through the gallery, is it? It isn't safe to go through the gallery on recording, is
No.
it? It's not safe. We can't do that. Otherwise I'd show a picture.
a good one. Good pictures. That's all a gallery has, is good pictures. My
I
favorite-
suppose I could momentarily like stop recording and then jump over to it, and I can piece these together later, which might be a better idea. It would just take more time to compress the file when it wouldn't really need to. Screw it. We're being professional about this. I will find a more appropriate picture to kind of put this into context, at least for the viewers, not for you guys. Unless Patrick can find a picture and just post it in chat. Alright, so continuing on with where we were before. It's a character that's very much designed to kind of appeal to an audience. They all are. And the entire idea of the game is to take the stereotypes that characters in these kind of stories fulfill, and then kind of turn them on their head or show the consequences of such a person's actions in a real life situation. The actual life of a ridiculously shy person, the actual life of the very bossy person, the actual life of the feisty, energetic person, the actual life of the crazy, I'll say whatever the hell I want to say because I don't care
That's a
about
good
other
link.
people.
That's a good link.
Uh,
That's the. I don't know why it's so long, but it's pretty good. That's probably a bad picture, but I'm just trying to find ones that make her look shy.
so, and the entire point of the route is to take the whole idea of we're going to write this story so that the player feels like their role in the story is to protect this character, but give them hints that is telling them, no, that is not what you should be doing. This is not a little kid who needs to be protected. This is a human being. You don't need to baby her. You know? Like, almost as if it's an actual human being. Because those sometimes exist. But that's the entire point of the story. That's the big idea. And I think the big problem with it, though, is that the character's mere existence makes you expect more from the route that you're going to get. Because it's a character who you immediately kind of expect to have this very, very sad story tied to them. And ultimately it gets to the point where it is almost incapable of making the story sad enough to match the character that you're hyped up for. And they tried to do that in the beta version, but according to what I've read and heard from Cole, Hanako's beta route basically involved her dying in 4 different ways.
Yep. Killed herself.
It is something like... Isn't there a scene where, like, she panics, trips, hits her neck on a desk, and dies?
Yep, I heard.
That's pretty good.
And also to get down her good route, you have to go down Lily's route.
That makes no sense.
That's weird.
You need to go down an alternate reality so that this other alternate reality can go the way it's supposed to. So, they tried to make it, you know, as sad as it might have been hyped up to be, but then everybody was like, no, don't kill her. And ultimately they ended up with no good endings, really, in the beta version. And then when they rewrote the thing for the final release, it just... It wasn't as sad as it would have led you to believe, just because of how the story, how the characters designed and introduced to you, and all of that. I wrote the exact same words in my written review. It hypes itself up. It is a character that generates all of the build-up that you need for the route just by existing.
Yeah.
So, you've played it more recently than me. What, like... Say things.
Okay. Let me say things. I feel like they could have taken, like, more risks, maybe, with it. Like, even trying to, like, maybe not have her kill herself, but make her, maybe at least in, like, the bad ending, suicidal to a degree. Maybe not, like, full-on, every 2 seconds you're trying to stop her from killing herself, but,
Please,
like...
put that knife down. No, stop pouring pine sol into the glass of water.
1, 2, 3, pints. Okay.
Closes
But
windows and kills black people.
it's like the best video. Oh, it's utter confusion.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't need to understand it. Okay.
Collateral damage is a secondary concern.
Tertiary idiot fool. Learn to... But okay.
Learn the law.
what was I saying? It could have taken like, it could have been sadder.
Well, like I said, they tried to take all of those risks in the beta, and it didn't work. And then they took less risks, and it didn't work. And the writer himself has said that he's really not satisfied with the work that he did on the story, just because he couldn't strike that balance between, like, you know, it had to be it had to be sad and happy at the same time in order to please the kind of people who would go down the story. But it ultimately couldn't accomplish both at the same time as effectively. So at the end of the day, he decided he'd make it less sad and focus more on the happy aspect. And you know what? That's fine. It's just a matter of what you go into the story expecting and what you actually get are not the same things, and not for exactly the reasons that the writer intended, which could be viewed as a flaw. Ultimately, I think probably the biggest problem that it had, other than just being hyped up, the biggest actual writing problem it had was that it was too short. You didn't get enough time to actually see the character develop.
I didn't like how it ended. It was like this is the start of her getting better, but I feel like it could have kept going with like just making it things like, so is that like the end of her?
Well, let's think. Lily's Root has an epilogue.
Yeah.
It's short. It's just, you know, one short scene to kind of give you a decent idea of how things end up going there. But it's there, and that's, you know, that's good. It gives us a little bit of closure on a game that's filled with loose ends. But Hanako's has the most loose ends.
Because it just ends with she is getting better now. Like
it ends on a note of there are better things to come. And not even in the same way, like, Shizune's route ends on a note of, you know, to a brighter future. Hanako's route just ends on a note of things will get better. And that's not bad, but it's not satisfying.
Because
so
this is a character for a majority of her life has been very, like, terrible social anxiety, very inward, and it's kind of saying
and
that,
then
like,
you basically just get to see, okay, now she'll start to get better. I don't know.
There could have been more after.
It just could have been more fulfilling. They just needed to do a little bit of an epilogue where it just skips to about the point where Lily's Root ends, where it's like, we're gonna go travel all of Japan and see all the landmarks. Yes! Which I'm pretty sure is how that route ended with her.
Yeah, she joins a club. Like, Lily's Root is more fulfilling. Like,
yeah, that was my biggest problem. It's not even just that, like, it was unfulfilling and unsatisfying and left loose ends. It's that other storylines ended up tying up those loose ends better than her own did. Which is kind of unacceptable.
In Lily's Root, she joins a club, gets a lot of friends, doesn't hang out with Lily as much. Like, they're still close friends, but not as dependent on her being, like, her only friend. And actually wants to go, like, travel all across Japan and stuff.
And you don't get to see any of that happen.
That was just kind of like, she's gonna get better now. She's gonna be able to talk to people.
Oh, there's some people who speculate that it's actually healthier for her if you go down Lily's Root.
I could see that.
I don't know. I think it's just wasn't satisfying, and that's the big problem. I guess it's. I'll stop recording here and we'll make a new cut as we move on to the next character.
Can you see what I can?
Oh, alright, I fixed it apparently.
Can you see what I see?
You're very clever, Patrick.
I think is that her thing?
Lily is blind. Why?
I can't see what's the problem here.
I can't eyes what is the problem. Okay, anyways. Um, Louie's a blind person who is half Scottish, half Japanese, and is also blind. Um, she's very prim and proper and polite and kind of boring.
Yes.
What was that?
She's also an Aquarius. And her blood type is A.
Patrick?
What? Her
Is that
birthday's
the
February
DeWitt?
7th. Her birthday's February 7th. Can I say
I'm a
real
little bit scared.
that Misha's official eye color is gold? What's her official eye color?
Oh, a fisher?
For sure.
So, I guess same thing as before. What did you... Shut... What did you think of this character the first time you met them and the way they acted throughout the first act?
I'm trying to think of the first act real quick. What happens in the first act? It's you having tea with her, basically.
Yep.
And then you go to the store.
Yeah.
That's basically the whole thing for her. She was cool, I guess. Like, she wasn't very interesting in the first act. Like,
Wait with words.
I do really. But she wasn't, talking to her was kind of boring because she was just kind of, like, very prim and proper, like you already said, like, just boring. I don't know.
You're an intellectual, man.
I know, an intellectual giant.
So,
You just don't do anything with her in the first act. Like, there's nothing that happens, really.
I
Nothing
immediately knew the second this character was introduced that I would not like them.
Oh. I like her.
Literally, I didn't know the name, hadn't heard a word come out of their mouth. Immediately I was like, I am not going to enjoy this blonde character. Because I could immediately tell. Immediately, from the second you see him. I'm going to stop stream really quick here, just so I can head to the picture. It'll take 0 seconds for you guys. Okay, so this is what you see the first time you meet this character. You guys can't see it, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
I know what it is.
And use your imagination, Noreen.
Huh?
Damn it.
So this character shows up, and immediately you can tell this is not going to be a very fun character to be around. They just look at like the art here and the weird coloring and the weirdly smoothness and the stupid closed eyes and she's just sitting alone in a random room with her hands resting on the table like she needs to look, you know, proper for the 0 people in the room. You immediately are just like, okay, that's a ridiculous character. And it basically stayed like that for me throughout the entire goddamn story. And the entire idea of the character is that she's incredibly insecure about the fact that she's blind.
And hides that by
She
surrounding
hides it
herself
because
with broken human beings.
yeah, she
Broken
needs to
her.
rely on other people to function as a human being, but to make sure that she doesn't look like she needs help and to look like she's a very strong, independent person, she surrounds herself in people who need her help just as much as she needs their help, and then basically manipulates them into thinking that they're not helping her at all.
Yeah.
She basically forced herself into this mother role of all of these people, and I couldn't catch that kind of intricacy when I played through the story because I found her so boring. For the very same reasons that are supposed to make her a complex character, that being that she masks her insecurity behind this kind of
Well,
facade of I'm a
kindness and properness.
yeah, it's hidden behind all of that, but it's all boring to deal with. I just didn't care. And there wasn't any conflict in the story. Because the story was made specifically for you to sit there and learn about this character. And
Yeah.
only this character.
And then at the end,
But-
they're like, wait, we need something.
Yeah.
And stuff happens.
So, like,
Well, you didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
For the first act, I didn't really like her either. But through the acts, when you start to learn about her, like, I found her less boring. Like, she felt like her own individual. Hanako just felt boring throughout because I just didn't like her. I didn't feel like I learned about her as an individual.
I talked about it in the other video. I said I'd kind of I would kind of have to reiterate it in this video, but it is not a badly written story. It is a story that is written in a way that is not for me. It is a type of story that I don't care about, because it is a story that is purely about just the one character. Not any of the conflicts surrounding this character, or the people around this character, just the character, and learning about the character. And then, the only source of conflict comes from outside. It doesn't come from anything within the kind of main characters of the road. It comes from the other side of the goddamn planet as a summons to Scotland that she needs to answer and thus leave for Scotland forever.
Yeah.
The problem is that's not really the kind of issue that you can, like... Okay, let's put it this way. In Rin's Route, there's the very serious issue of the gradual descent and self-destruction, as she calls it, of Rin's psyche as she devotes more and more of herself to painting, and simultaneously Hisao's quest to try to understand what her deal is, because she's a psychopath, kind of.
Yep.
So it's a little bit difficult to understand. Emi's Route is all about how she's trying so hard to be independent in everything that she brushes off outside help to the point that it's damaging for those around her. And then in Shizune's, she tries so hard to make everybody around her happy that she doesn't really, because of the fact that she doesn't really think about, she doesn't understand how other people work, so it kind of, things start to fall apart as her attempts to keep everybody happy start working, kind of. Or at least I feel like that's what it was supposed to be, but it didn't work. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But then, Lily's is, like, her parents are doing something perfectly reasonable, that just so happens to not be so convenient for Hisao. And that's it. That is the source of conflict.
Yeah.
It's not a bad source of conflict. It is one that I could care less about. I am much more interested in stories where conflict comes from within the characters than from without the characters. And that's why I do not enjoy Lily's Route.
I was surprised that that's what the main conflict was, when I could easily see them making about her being an alcoholic. It wasn't like a big part of the thing, but like it was kind of hinted at.
That was supposed to be one of the flaws. One of the arbitrary flaws that they added onto the character. This was something else. There are genuine flaws that this character has, but it feels like they also kind of try to shoehorn some in just because it's like, no, guys. Look, she drinks a beer too much. What a silly goose.
Like, I could easily see a story be written.
Her idea is that she's very, very, Drewby put it best, our Lord and Savior Drewby, said that she has a very addictive personality. If she enjoys things, then she will seek them out very actively.
So that's why you have sex a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Like,
That's not even a joke. That's actually why. And then there's also, her sister gives her alcohol, even though that's an illegal thing to do, and she's a lawyer, so that's kind of weird. But anyways, and then from then on, no matter where she goes, she's ordering alcohol. She's like, no, I'm of legal age. She's just like, what, 18, 17 years old and ordering wine at a restaurant?
and they're like, oh, we'll talk whatever.
We don't need it. Look, she's probably old. Don't mind the clearly 17-year-old man sitting next to her.
Yeah.
She's probably an adult. It's completely normal for 20-year-olds and 17-year-olds to hang out and drink beer together.
Yeah, man, that's cool. But yeah, I could easily see a story be written about like a complete blow up between Lily and like Lily completely blowing up. Like,
Here's
like,
what I think.
a cool climax.
There was a chance for them to add some kind of conflict from within the character, but they skipped past it. And that especially made me mad. Because you only find out that she's taking a trip to Scotland a week before she leaves, despite the fact that she is known for about 2 or 3 months by that point.
Yeah.
So she had 2 or 3 months to tell you this, and she's not even the one who tells you. It's her sister. Her sister tells you. Not her. And I thought that that was going to be the character conflict. Kisa would be mad at her for withholding that information for so long, especially after she reveals that she planned on withholding it for even longer. We don't know how long it could have taken. It could have been the next day, it could have been 5 days from then, it could have been, you know, the day of. We don't know.
She could have started
Even after.
plans. She could have no.
She calls him on the phone. Yesterday I went to Scotland.
I could see the bad ending just be she leaves without telling him. And then like there's a note left for him or something. It's just him reading the note, being like, "God damn it." I still feel like
What
the
a
ending
jerk.
was very
I'm gonna go
bitter,
take a shower.
bittersweet.
My morning exercise.
Cause thinking about it, like it is happy that like Lily stayed and they can be happy together. But like when you think of her leaving, like Kiso has nothing in his life. Kiso, his life is complete emptiness without Lily.
Yeah, because he's done nothing but talk to her and has done nothing else for himself.
How
Because
depressing!
he's a pathetic human being.
But I did like near the ending where they made what's his name? Kenji not just comic relief.
Oh yeah, Kenji was an actual character. Oh, I don't know. I think it's in Rin's Route, but there's a scene where like Kenji sees that you're all distraught about something, and he's like, "Hey man, if you ever want to talk, you know, I'm here for you." And I'm like, "Aw, Kenji."
I was really sad when like
I was like, "Aw."
Kenji and Lily
Nice gesture.
like run into each other or something, and like Lily falls over, and like Kenji's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man," and he goes
Oh,
to help her, and she's like has this complete like, "Damn it," and hits the ground, and you're just like, "You okay there?" And Kenji's like, "I'm sorry, man," and just kind of walks away.
I got graphs to draw. See ya.
That is basically like the only time she is ever really angry. Is that one split second where she just loses her cool.
Yeah, I think like they had a lot of space to make it a story that I could have enjoyed, but obviously they had no obligation to. It was their story, and it happened to be written in a way that I don't enjoy. It's not a badly written story. There's some scenes in there that like I was reading them, Okay, specifically, I was watching the Drewby stream.
Yep.
We're going back to this.
Going
And
back.
I could see that he was ridiculously torn apart just by rereading some parts of this route. And I could see why. This was an extremely well-written, well-thought-out route with... It's just smart. It's smartly written. It's just good. It's the scenes, especially towards the end, are really, really good. The problem was that because I didn't connect to the character, and I felt very little tension because of the fact that there was no character kind of thing. Think of it this way, with all the other ones, it was if I say the wrong thing, then I will... I could screw everything up, because the problem comes from the character. But there was really none of that, really.
Yeah. It's the
And
same.
honestly, it kind of doesn't make... Okay, here's the thing with Lily's Path. In order to get the good ending, you actually have to play it perfectly. From Act 2 all the way up to the end.
Yeah.
If you make a single wrong choice, then it's over. Any one of the wrong choices that you make will lead you to neutral ending, no matter what. You have to play it perfectly in order to get the good ending.
You have to have a perfect relationship for her
Which
to...
doesn't make sense because of the fact that all of that is just like...
her just being
It
like...
didn't feel like if I said the wrong thing that I could ruin things. So Emmy's route, it feels like you're treading on thin ice all the time. On Rin's route, it feels like you're treading on thin ice all the time. Suzuna's route is, you know... I didn't come here to get lit from you.
Okay, sorry.
Shut your whore. Just genuine, just angry hatred.
Never speak to me.
Who said you would be here?
We didn't even invite you. You came into the call yourself with your witchcraft.
Can I say something with the plot could have been? Maybe this might be like a little, maybe the plot might have stretched on a little too long, like the time span, but like it could have been Lily chooses not to go. Like if you go on the good ending, she chooses not to go and tells you about it, and throughout it there's like a clear that she has a drinking problem, and it is heightened with her sister leaving, and that's when kind of the climax happens, is you confront her on her being an alcoholic.
There were multiple
and
ways they could have gone with the
because
story.
her sister basically being her only family her whole life, leaving her, being basically her family's left her. Akira being the closest thing closest family she's ever had.
There are dozens of ways they could have taken that story. The issue was they took it in a way that just didn't have character conflict. That's fine. You don't need to have a story that's talking about characters who are, you know, who have problems that need to be resolved. There can be problems that the characters have to resolve, which is a different matter entirely, and that's what that story's about. Think about how many stories there are that are absolutely goddamn amazing that have nothing to do with any kind of internal conflict at all. Like, well, hell, Lord of the Rings is about goddamn Sauron, and even like the internal conflict comes from an external source in the form of the ring. There is no like, it's nothing like Frodo has to fight anything within himself to accomplish his goal. He has to fight the ring. He has to fight Gollum. He has to fight the orcs and the goblins. It has nothing really to do with
him and his gay lover up there. I hated that. I hated how their relationship was so, in quotations, gay, but they weren't actually gay.
That's because back it was a relationship that was very much based on
Friendship.
No. Oh
And
god, this song is loud. I'm just gonna skip it.
It was based on like loyalty that Sam had.
No. There was, in the British military, there were, every officer would have a person who was basically the more modern equivalent of a squire, who would just kind of look after all their needs and was incredibly loyal.
Yep.
And Sam's relationship with Frodo was very much modeled after that.
Yeah.
It was a matter of one person who was extremely, undyingly loyal, and it was based on J.R.R. Tolkien's experience in the military, which is exactly what inspired him to write the story, because it was basically him trying to cope with losing almost all of his closest friends in the war, and being... I'm pretty sure he was... either he or C.S. Lewis was left for dead in the Battle of the Somme.
You know, classic. A classic guy.
So, yeah. But these are stories that don't have an internal conflict, really.
Actually,
it's all about external conflict.
You're wrong, because Gollum and Schmeagol have an internal conflict. Fool. Actually,
That's brought on from the ring.
Yeah, brought
It
from the ring.
all comes back to the ring in some way.
And he was triggered by the people like capturing him. He was gonna be fine, and then the people like triggered him, and he's like, God damn it, gotta be crazy now.
So yeah, I thought like that's one of the greatest literary masterpieces of all time. No internal conflict.
There's an internal conflict between Gandalf and Gandalf the White.
Shut the hell up, Patrick. God damn it. So, anyways.
I was Legolas not being perfect enough.
Not shooting enough arrows.
My favorite scene was where he like takes on this like massive elephant beast, and he's just like.
Then he slides down the trunk, and Gimli's like, "It still only counts as one," because
And
he's
he's just
competing.
And he's like, yeah.
What about the scene where he slides down a shield like it's a skateboard down the stairs, shooting people, and then the shield stabs another orc in the chest?
Yes, like.
Legolas is hilarious, man. I love Legolas.
And it's not even like it's like, wow, man, that was so cool. It's like it's not his work. It's no big deal.
This is just how I fight. This. Honestly, an exceptional battle for me is one where I sit on a ridge and shoot arrows at targets that are many meters away.
This, I'm like right up in their face, stabbing them with arrows.
I am less shooting arrows at them and more stabbing them at a distance. Anyways, let's get back on topic.
Yeah.
That's what I've been thinking for the past year.
Well, we're allowed to go on tangents because it's our goddamn podcast, and these scrubs.
Yeah.
These
Besides,
scrubs, they don't have a podcast, do they? They don't
Yeah.
even have a multi-million, billion-dollar gaming channel.
and like, sort of like Lord of the Rings. Like my dog's named after a Lord of the Rings character because he's a scrub to kill himself.
Oh.
But he is. I'm not lying. Wanna know what his name is?
Smeagol, I know.
It's fucking asshole. I just fucking
Yes!
I call him that more than his actual name. It really terrifies me. Because he just is all the time. Like, okay, it's
So,
tank.
anyways. So, my issue is just that, me personally, especially in a story like this, I'd prefer there be some kind of internal conflict. Especially when you're going to devote the entire story to developing the character, you could at least develop some traits that could contribute to the plot and its conflict. But whatever, it's just I did not enjoy the plot, personally. We've gone on about this specific character for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna have to save Rin for last just because that's gonna be the longest one, and we could very easily just get nowhere at all if I start going to her. So let's move on to everybody's favorite character. Alright, so next
Can
we've
you
got...
hear me talking? Oh, wait, what is it? What was her thing? Can you see is that hers? No, that's written.
Can you hear me talking?
Can you tell me what you think? I
Can
gotta.
you hear me talking? That's deep, man. Because she can't talk and she can't hear.
Misha can. Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay, so this one's a double feature because this is not about one character at all.
They're basically the same character up until like the last moment.
I want to get this out of the way immediately. I hate this.
Like, even
These
the game,
characters, the story, the person who wrote it, I hate it all. The art, even. Even this goddamn art looks like it was like it has an Instagram filter put over it.
But can I say something real quick while
Nope.
before you go on a tangent? It's real quick.
Fine.
Even many times Hisao says to himself he's not sure which one of them is saying it, because they're basically the same person.
So let me just get as much of the general frustration with this route out of the way now, so that we can get into actual discussion. Let's start off with just the basic character summary. Shizune is blind. Not blind. Shizune is deaf. Shizune is mute. Shizune communicates through sign language. You don't communicate through sign language at the start.
Until
So
like
she
5
needs an
minutes
interpreter
later.
in order to converse with you. That is what this pink person is for. That is Misha. She is unbelievably happy all the time, never ending.
And she's an idiot.
Kind of. She's an airhead. Yes. You have to deal with these two for about an hour and a half in the first act, and it's infuriating because they are not fun to be around. They are annoying, they are loud, they are nosy, they are pushy. They don't leave you alone, they bug you for about an hour and a half before you even get to meet any other characters, at which point it's immediately back to them. They start barging in on other scenes and judging you for daring to talk to other people. And if you go down other routes, and they sit there and they start being jealous and being nosy and stupid and retarded and stupid and retarded. And that's the character right there.
Yeah, it's basically her.
We'll get more into how those characters develop later. Let's start with the biggest problem with this route, and the thing that makes me hate it more than anything else, and that is everything about Shizune, actually.
The classic problem. The classic Freudian slip. Everything about her.
The classic Freudian slip. So, the supposed relationship that you're supposed to have between Hisao and Shizune is non-existent. I'm pretty sure I feel more attached to this glass of pop that's sitting next to me, because at least it's doing something for me, you know?
Just even Hisao's
These
in constant
characters,
show up.
these characters don't display affection. They have no reason to be supposedly in love. You're just supposed to kind of roll with it, you know? Just go with it. It's fine. I don't need to write in character. That's boring. No. You know what I should do instead? Do nothing. This is like 4 to 8 hours of meandering around getting nothing done. The entire second act, I literally can't remember a single thing that happens in the second act until the very end. Just because of the fact that it's the end of the act. That is all I remember. You have the big Tanabata festival or whatever. That is the only thing I remember about Act 2. Because it's so boring. It's just Act 1 extended. And then Act 3, I can name 2 major developments. Stuff happens at like her house, and then Misha reveals that she is a lesbian.
She's a classic gay. She's infected with a gay.
That's my disability.
I'm not sure if you were there, but I think Thomas, me and Thomas were there. saying what characters' disabilities were. We need like lore that the person that sat beside Nisha was gay because she infected him with the gay.
Didn't we say that the guy with like the glasses that looked almost like goggles was infected with the gay and nobody spoke to him as a result? So
Yeah,
he lived a very sad life.
you understand, like,
Anyway, we're smart people.
yeah.
So
I don't know much about this route 'cause I haven't played it, but I basically know the most of the
seriously,
story.
you know the only two plot developments that you need to know. Trust, because it's not even like some of the routes I played a long time ago, so the details are fuzzy. No, I finished this goddamn route and I had already forgotten most of it. It is the most mediocre, forgettable crap. It is nothing. It is empty space. It is waste. It is a storyline that could have been very interesting, had a lot of very interesting concepts in it, that were all wasted on a bad writer who made bad
Yeah.
decisions and then made excuses to excuse those bad decisions once he realized that his story was failing as a result of his bad goddamn decisions.
I feel like he bit off more than he could chew because the story he wanted to make was pretty difficult to make a good ending for it.
Here's the problem. He wanted to make a hardcore character study of Shizune. That was his goal. He has specifically stated that is what the route is supposed to be, and that is why you have to play it twice, because you need to be able to catch all of the tiny details to get the full picture of this character. But then, because of the way he wrote it, it fails at doing this. Because so much focus is placed on Misha, so much focus is placed on her family. Yes, the way that her family interacts with her is important for explaining why she is the way that she is. But Hideaki is a useless character. He is fluff. Jigoro doesn't even... We don't really need to have him shown to us. We just need to be told that he exists. All we need to know is that Shizune has a dad who thinks that it's her fault that she's deaf and mute, and basically refuses to adjust to her in order to learn how to speak with her. And as a result, she ended up kind of the way she is. Because he's a jerk dad. Okay. But they spent so much time in the goddamn house trying to introduce this concept to us that eventually you forget why you're even there. You are just wasting time at this goddamn house. Nothing is happening. You went fishing, and then you sat around, and like 4 whole scenes pass where nothing happens. You talk to Hideaki, then the scene ends, then you go and talk to Jigoro, and he's like, I am a jerk. And then you talk to him again, just like seconds later, but this time Misha's there too, and he continues to be a jerk. And it's just... okay. Also, I really like the way that the writer faked having a relationship with this character. It was like, okay. So, I feel like by this point, the player has probably forgotten that these two characters are not friends. Let's escalate this to friends with benefits real quick. That's literally what happens. There's absolutely no point in the story where you should believe that they are supposed to be in love at all, because all they do is things that you would do with a friend.
Wait, so the story's supposed to be about Shizune.
Why does so much focus go on to Misha?
I thought it was gonna be like, I don't know, like a gay thing or something. Like, it sounds really weird, but
What?
I thought it was supposed to be more about Misha. Like,
No,
just kind of
okay,
the
that's the
main-
big problem. The plot focuses on Misha, but the
And-
writer is focusing on Shizune, and these things clash, and ultimately it ends up with nothing getting done. Everything fails in this route. None of the characters develop properly. The plot doesn't go anywhere. The scenes don't go anywhere. The characters don't go anywhere. The character growth doesn't go anywhere. Relationships between the characters don't go anywhere. Nothing goes anywhere, and it's a wasted route filled with wasted characters and wasted concepts and wasted potential. But what makes me really mad about this route is the excuses that the author made after people started complaining about it, where he basically said it's everybody else's fault. He had nothing to do with the myriad problems in this route. No. Everybody was just going about things the wrong way. You're supposed to play it twice. You're supposed to read it as a character study. You're supposed to ignore the boring, stupid plot. That's a minor detail. Plot. No. He intentionally, he wrote the plot intentionally bad. Actually. Maybe it wasn't intentionally bad, but he certainly made no efforts to make it better, and he admitted that he made no efforts to make it better. He specifically stated that if you don't play the route twice, then you won't get it. But I'm okay with something needing to be seen a couple of times to really see all the details. But if I have to read the same 8-hour goddamn book twice, 16 hours of reading, just to get like one playthrough's worth of satisfaction out of it, then you have failed as a writer. You have written a bad story that cannot be written in the space of a single story. So instead, you will squeeze it into the space of one story and just make it so that you can only understand it if you're reading it through the eyes of somebody who has already experienced the whole story in the past.
My other kin has experienced it.
Let's look at Rin's route again, real quick. It's very, very good to replay that, because there's lots of symbolism, lots of themes, lots of foreshadowing, all these tiny little details that pop up all over the place that make it ridiculous if you reread it, because you get to see all the tiny little details that were squeezed into every single tiny, just every single nook and cranny of the story. But
it's good to reread it because you want to, not because you need to understand it.
Yeah, it isn't bad the first time. You understand it. Everything works the way it's supposed to the first time. It just works better the second time. Nothing works the way it's supposed to the first time in Shizune's route. And honestly, I now refuse to play it a second time, because I am not going to submit to that. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm completely okay with you writing a story where you can just skimp out on writing something good because you're just going to make everybody read it twice anyways. No, that's not okay. So, screw Anonymous22. He's a retard. So, let's get this kicked off. Patrick, what did you think of the characters in the first act?
Okay. What was I gonna say? I was okay. Just go back because I was gonna say something, but you were in the middle of it. About replaying, like rewatching things. Like, okay, movie Dark Knight. That has a lot of things that you can miss in the first watching. But the main plot and understanding what's happening and understanding the characters, you're like, you get all that. It's just minor things that's like, oh, I missed that first time. It's like, so rewatching it is cool. Not like major things.
I'm calling upon you.
What?
Bacano.
Huh?
You've watched it, I haven't. How is that in terms of rewatching it and watching it the first time in terms of enjoyability?
I haven't finished it yet. So.
God damn it.
God.
I'm sorry.
Killers.
Life ruined.
But
Okay.
considering like how the nature of how the anime was presented, like I think rewatching it will probably be even better than watching it the first
It
time.
is. The way that show works is, it's Bacano is takes place across 3 different plot lines, and episodes jump between them freely. So it can be kind of confusing if you don't really know the plot lines. But it's supposed to kind of come together by the end, and then if you rewatch it, then all of a sudden you understand everything, because you know kind of what all of these scenes mean in the space of that plot line. But that doesn't mean it isn't enjoyable the first time around. It means that there are intricacies that you notice the second time around, and that is
Like-
a well-written story. If
Like
it
you
was
can
badly
appreciate
written,
it.
if it was badly written, it would be unengaging and uninteresting the first time, with no fun characters, and then only after watching it a second time with all of the info laid out for you that... Hold on.
I think it's a good story if it makes you want to rewatch it just to
Yeah,
find
if
all
you
the
want to
things, right?
if you like want to rewatch something to catch the intricacies, then it's done its job. If you are forced to rewatch something because it's impossible to catch the basics without rewatching it to catch the intricacies, then there's a problem, and you are doing it wrong, and you need to go back and rewrite your story.
He's just unfocused from what he wanted to do. It's like
No, he was very focused on what he had to do, he just didn't know how. He did not know how to write a character study. He did not know how to write a character study without ruining the plot in the process, or how to write a character study without skimping out on side characters. What he ended up doing was he ignored the plot entirely, and tried to compensate by overdeveloping the side characters, despite the fact that most of them did not need to be developed, were not interesting to see developed, or ultimately were overdeveloped and somehow underdeveloped at the exact same time. Because Misha somehow managed to get almost more screen time than Shizune, I swear to God, and yet ended up less developed, just because scenes with her went nowhere every time.
because like he wanted to make a character study of Shizune, kind of like the main character besides Tisa and that thing. But like it feels like it should be about Misha because the whole kind of the conflict is her also being in love with Shizune. That is kind of the conflict.
The idea is it's supposed to be a love triangle gone very wrong, except it doesn't. Like,
It just
it
kind of-
just doesn't work. It didn't do it right. It screwed up, and then the author started making excuses.
Like the concept of writing like like that kind of story and ending it is kind of tricky. If you're focused on that, you can probably do it. Find a way to end it without having Misha just leave or something. But he's just like, no, she just makes the executive decision to not love Shizune anymore.
I don't even know what's supposed to happen. It's
She
like
stops.
I literally played it. I played through both endings. I looked at them both, and I tried to figure out what the actual difference is between the events that conspire and why they would lead to Shizune suddenly just ditching everybody. And honestly, there isn't one. I swear to God. Obviously, there's a whole thing where in the bad ending, you have cheated on Shizune with Misha. And that's a problem. But she never finds out. It's not like that causes a bad ending. I don't know why. That would make sense, wouldn't it? But no, she never finds out. She just randomly decides, she just calls you up one day and is like, I've decided that I can't be friends with anybody anymore, so goodbye. And that's how it ends. For no reason.
A good ending.
I think the
It's-
idea was supposed to be that it's because she felt like she was hurting everyone around her, which is the truth. So she's just gonna stop talking to people around her so she stops hurting them, which is the truth. Anyways, but in the good ending, like, all the same scenes happen, really. And the whole idea is, like, Misha, after you've spoken to her, after she has a falling out with Shizune, you speak to her, and she kind of gains this newfound confidence and starts being tutored so that she can become a teacher or something. I forget exactly what it was. And this inspires Shizune to kind of take her life in new directions. But that's retarded. Because there's nothing to inspire Misha. Nothing is particularly inspiring about what Misha's doing to inspire Shizune. There's no point. There's nothing happening.
I just had this theory about what happens. Okay, it involves Kenji and the feminists.
Okay, let's save it.
No, wait, please! It has to do with Misha and her being gay.
Just put it into the back of your mind for now.
No, please,
Store it.
no, it's amazing, I just thought of it, it's
Come on.
amazing.
Fine.
Okay, so basically, Misha's not actually gay. Kenji confronts her, and knowing that the source of feminist power is her drills, cuts off her drills, and knows that Hisau's getting too close to Shizune, so he tells her that he will kill her unless she pretends to be gay to drive a wedge between Shizune and Hisao. Theory. That's the truth.
Except for the fact that before, long before Hisao and Shizune ever met, Misha had already confessed to Shizune, and that was a big part of their character struggle. Which is, again, an extremely interesting concept that was completely wasted. The entire idea of two best friends, like ridiculously close friends, one of which is in love with the other one knows this, but has just kind of brushed it off and is pretending it never happened, and the consequences this can have. I honestly think that Misha's story could have been absolutely fascinating if they gave it to a different writer. If somebody better was writing that route, it would have gone really well. But ultimately, I think it was just a matter of, like, you get a bunch of random people from 4chan, at least one of them is gonna be bad, Not all of them are gonna be amazing. Anyways, let's get started with the first step of the Shizune breakdown. So what did you think of the character when you met him in the first act?
I met her. When you meet her, like, unlike other characters, it's just kind of like you going around the school and you kind of run into them and just have like a conversation. Hers, kind of, you're in class and she's like, hello, and you're just like, oh, okay.
You were actually introduced to her by the teacher.
Yeah, the teacher introduces you and they're to like show you around the school. And that's basically how you meet them. But they're just like, and that'd be fun, they show you around the school and stuff. But then they always show up like, you want to join the student council? And you're like, not really. And then they're like, but... And they're just always there being like, come with us, do this thing that you don't really want to do. Help us with this paperwork. And you're like, that doesn't sound enjoying at all. And they're like, but he-chan.
Yeah, my problem with them in the first act is that they are annoying. They make replaying the first act painful.
Yeah.
I will very gladly read the introduction scenes for every single other character but them.
The first act is
if I could go through the first act again, just kind of snip them out and not have them there anymore, it would be so much better. Because those are, like, they constantly harass you, and they're basically, it's almost like they are trying to tutorialize the game, despite the fact it's a book, because they are introducing you to all the characters, and they literally give you a tour of the school, and you have to sit through it, because it's trying to introduce to the player as well what the general layout of this school is and what's in it. And that's one thing that the game in general does really well, kind of creating this idea of there being a consistent world going on, with like the same places, and some people like going to the same places all the time, and other people, they only go there every so often, and certain places have more meaning to some people than to others, and blah blah blah. My problem with the first act, with them, is just that you have to spend an hour and a half with them as they harass you and bug you, and they don't leave you alone.
And
And on occasion, there's a fun dialogue this kind of back and forth where Hisao kind of has this battle of wits with them. And those are fun to read, but holy crap, having to put up with all the crap that goes on around them is annoying. It's boring. It's a pain to sit through. It's fun to see him, like, find all the counter arguments to everything they're saying, and kinda, cause you just, it feels good to see them get told off, you know? But, you know what isn't fun? Sitting there. What the hell song is this? Oh, I must. Alright, never mind. I know what it is now. Anyways, they're just. Everything else about them, the constant, stupid, everything. Every single goddamn line of dialogue. Like, I don't like their dialogue. I like Hisao's responses to their dialogue. Their dialogue is all annoying. Like, you should not have characters that you are supposed to enjoy the company of, instill a sense of dread whenever they appear on screen. Once you have managed to do that, you've done something terribly wrong in the development of your characters.
Can I say something that's terrifying that just happened to me?
Uh-oh, what?
For like a whole like solid minute or two, like Skype said I was offline.
That's good.
It just fixed itself or something. Okay.
So,
And can I say something?
sure thing.
This isn't about my conspiracy theory. Okay. But it's like when you talk to them, it's not like other characters versus you having a genuine conversation with them. It's them trying to get you to do something.
You don't have conversations with them, you have arguments with them.
And all the funny parts, all the enjoyable parts, are them saying something stupid and Hisao pointing out what they're saying is stupid and unreasonable. And like one of the better scenes with them in it is where Muto is the teacher is just kind of annoyed with Misha.
Yeah, that's still my favorite scene, frowning with his entire essence.
He's just like embodying how
just like it's absolutely amazing how like they slowly get more and more extreme with the descriptions of just how horribly annoyed Muto is with the presence of this character, and it's even funnier to see his frustration at the very end when he's trying to tutor her and she's like tossing pencils around the room somehow. It's like that's the third time you have dropped your pencil and thrown it across the room in the process. But again, that's not anything that they're doing, that's other people's reactions to what they're doing. And they themselves are not entertaining characters. It is the other characters around them providing context for what they're doing that makes them ridiculous and enjoyable. But that means that the second you try to get to a scene where people aren't laughing at them for being idiots, you stop finding enjoyment in them. So, yeah. So anything else we haven't actually touched upon in these recs? I guess, oh yeah, let's talk about the best scene. Comfort Misha.
Okay.
Noreen?
This is...
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Alright, let's explain the setup for this scene.
Wait, can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
There are a few decisions in this game that you feel like, one is like the choice to go down Emmy's route, which is like you're running and it's like take it easy and like stop running or just keep going. You feel like you just want to keep going, like you're running, you can be fine.
Are you okay?
But that is a very serious decision, and isn't it a minor choice? Like comfort Misha.
Patrick.
Yeah?
This has nothing to do.
No, I was fine. It was all going to come together that there are stupid choices in this game.
Yes, we'll get into we will get into the stupidness of this choice. Like right now, I'm just about to get into it. Just-
Okay, fine. Let's just build up
Trust
what
me,
this
Patrick.
is. Okay.
So, Misha's a very happy character, right? I mean,
I guess.
it's a very
Happy
constantly happy. What the hell?
painfully happy.
I've gotten into the bonus tracks that the Sebastian guy made for the song. I'm not even on the actual soundtrack anymore.
Well, yeah, she's painfully happy all the time. Like, you just want to punch her in the face on how happy she is.
So, and then all of a sudden, she just kind of walks into your room, and noticeably, there's no Shizune there. And she looks at you and she's like, I feel sad all the time.
She just looks sad all the time.
She basically she comes up to you and reveals to you that she is suffering from a crippling depression. And then she asks you to comfort her.
Let's make her
Then
feel
you
better.
have the options of comfort Misha and refuse. Now, which one would you choose under those circumstances?
I
Person comes up to you, says that they're depressed, asks you to comfort them.
would comfort them.
Okay. That
Well,
leads
no-
you to the bad ending. Do you know why?
Because you comfort her with your dick.
Yeah, you guys have talked about this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really good. It's really good.
You comfort her with
Really
your
good.
dick. That's how that goes.
They just... It's this... Okay. They basically decide that they don't want to give you any chance to actually make a smart choice or an informed decision. They trick you. They trick you into going down the bad ending because they know that you don't know the details of what the choice that you are making means.
What it entails. Like much of the root.
So, you are forced down to the path that leads you to the bad ending. And, like, the word refuse, it sounds like you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, get the hell out of my room, idiot. Like, why? Why would you
What
do
actually
that?
happens when you refuse?
When you refuse, the character who is operating under the assumption that the other choice is not comfort her, but what it actually means, says, no, I'm not going to do that, Misha. You need to leave right now. This is not okay. And then she's like, yeah, that's a good point. And then leaves, and you're just like, what a
Stupid
psycho.
because, like,
Basically, refuse, it is less comfort Misha and refuse, and more sex Misha or refuse.
it's so stupid
And
because she is
under the
gay.
refuse option, your character operates on the assumption that those were what the choices were written as. So it's just, so you are tricked into it, basically. But the worst part is, this is the only choice in the entire route. The path, like, if you look at the goddamn spreadsheet for this game, it is hilarious to look at just that part, because you just see Act 2, learning to read, followed immediately by a straight line that leads to a bubble that says Act 3. Because there are no choices between Act 2 and Act 3, and one choice between Act 3 and Act 4, and no choices in Act 4 at all.
Bent over.
You just get one choice, comfort Misha or refuse, that lead to bad ending or good ending. It is the stupidest thing.
And, like, why
It
would
is
your
bad.
It just makes sense why she would be comforted by a guy, but she is clearly not into guys. Having sex with a guy would make her feel better.
Duh. It makes sense.
Hey,
Idiot.
like if she was straight, it would make sense, because it would make her feel like I don't know. It makes more sense
I
than
just hear,
coming. It makes more.
Well, it actually, like,
it does make a little bit of sense. It's just
It makes sense
she's
that he
in,
wants
she
to
is
feel
especially in emotional distress at that specific moment. She's not really thinking straight. She wouldn't have done such a thing under any other circumstances, but she is basically like worse than she ever has been.
Well, was it good sex?
uh,
It's a serious question, was it? Probably not. I felt weird about the whole thing because she's like, this doesn't feel right. And she's What? Serious questions.
So how's your sex life, Mark? I think that if we talk about Kizune anymore, holy crap, that's been going on for about 45 minutes. Yeah, our hatred for this route is no bound. But basically, it's a stupid choice and a stupid scene and a stupid route with stupid characters and a stupid writer who made stupid decisions and made stupid excuses. And the worst part is, all of the pieces were in place for an absolutely amazing story to be told. And they were just wasted on a bad writer.
Except the writer didn't want to tell the story, he wanted to make a character study instead of actually tell a story.
He had the pieces for a really good story, and then decided he didn't want to tell that story, but he was going to use those pieces anyways, which ruined everything. I think though it's time we move on. We have 2 more characters left.
We've angered the elite guard enough. Also, the fan base.
They are
for
marching upon our gates as we speak.
the fan base for this. Okay, like the Lily fans are called lily pads.
It's
Hanako fans
retarded,
are
but
like,
at least it makes, it's...
Hanako fans are like Hana Bros or
That's
something like that. Something like that. It's like Hanako, but they put Bros. It's weird. Emmy fans are fucking stupid, probably.
They don't exist.
Real.
That's not even real life.
Okay, and then Rin fans are called Rin Drew.
What? No. Where did you get that from?
Because Rin Drew. No, I'm making a joke.
You're a retard. Stop recording. Gotta go fast. It's Emmy. Gotta go fast. Okay.
Super speed.
I honestly can't find any good pictures of Emmy in this game. I'll get into that in a little bit, but let's start with the basics. Emmy has no legs. It looks like she has legs here, but those are fake. These are fake legs. These are prosthetics. Just trust. So she ain't got legs.
I just want to think that Jigoro with the Emmy's dad, and he's like, "You're not trying hard enough. You're not trying."
Lizards can grow their
Sorry,
tails
no.
back. Why haven't you grown your legs back?
You
Pathetic.
try to leg harder. Hanako, why can't you just not burn scars anymore?
Just put some goddamn polysporin on it.
God.
Some aloe vera. So,
And he's actually just proud of her, and he's like, "You're doing good."
yeah, nice.
Good.
Nice. So, Emmy. Okay, so she lost her legs, and then she was very, very, very adamant in continuing to run, even despite losing her legs. More on that and later as we get into kind of the depths of the storyline. First time you met Emmy, and then the way she acted for the first act, what were your thoughts?
She was trying to seduce me. That's just kind of how
Are you trying to seduce me?
her sprite thing be drawn, but like
That's the art, that's not the writing.
yeah, out of the characters that you meet, she seems the most upbeat and enjoyable. Just excluding Misha, because she seems to be most happy but not very enjoyable. She seems just to be most enjoyable and happy about everything, and very kinda most like animated with her.
She is fun.
Range of emotions. Like she's like, there's never a point where seems to be bored. She's always just making weird faces and saying things and just always excited.
It's not just a matter of she's never bored, it's also she's never boring.
Yeah.
The biggest boon that Emmy has is that she's just fun. Most of that is because the route, a lot of it is written as comic relief. Like, a lot of it. And that's not bad, because if I have to be honest, I'm pretty sure that this is the most realistic and, like, most likely to actually exist in real life character in the entire game. She's just a very normal... Oh my god. Feel free then, I'll continue talking to you. Scrub. Anyways, she's just very, what was I even saying?
Something like she would resemble a real person.
Yeah, she's, the way she interacts with other characters, and the way she talks, and the way she acts, and the motivations for her actions, they make sense. They aren't like, it especially feels like, in her case, it's not kind of story contrivances that led to things happening the way they happened. None of the routes really feel like they were forced to go down the way they went down, but Emmy's feels the least like that. It feels the most like an actual real person who could probably exist in real life, actually acting out, you know, like, she's believable. She jokes around with Hisao. She, you know, she's not always like... I'm very bad at explaining my thoughts on this character.
She multi-dimensional in a way.
In a way. She's just... She's... well, she's just fun. It's a character who is fun to be around. Just because of the fact that she is written to be... She bounces off of other characters extremely well. She is probably, of all the characters in the game, the one whose chemistry with Hisao is the most believable and tangible. You feel it basically like straight from the moment they kind of start hanging out, that like... even at worst, they would be very good friends. You know?
What if, like, I've seen like the bad ending in Ruby's stream, I think. Probably, I think it was a bad ending, right?
Probably.
I'm not gonna like go into like the details of it, but like it felt like most real out of bad endings.
It is the entire, again, like I said, the entire route feels like that. It's a very real
Like
story.
it didn't feel like over the top. Like instead of like something like a lot of the other bad endings might feel like a cannon being shot in your stomach, like just utter just depression. This one just feels like this paper cut. Like it hurts a lot, but it's just really quick, and then it hurts more that she doesn't seem to care. That it's not like this big event. It's just kind of like, oh, whatever. That she just has no emotional attachment, and it's like it's fun while it lasts, but
It is a believable character who has believable problems and has believable conflicts, and believable things happen. It is not an unbelievable story. Yes, the other stories are grounded in reality and they have characters who are very human and very multidimensional, but most of them, I don't think that they'd exist in real life.
Aren't real. Gay people aren't real.
Myth.
Like Centaur.
And secondhand smoking. So, but yeah, like when she showed up for the first time in the first act, I was kind of like, she's not very interesting when she first appears. She's just a person who is running.
Yeah, and she,
At the time, I'm pretty sure, like, it was, you know.
the conflict with her in the first act is she might lose her girlish figure.
Turn into a man.
That was amazing.
What?
Basically,
Vin is talking to her, and she's talking about how she has to keep running, or she might lose her girlish figure. And then Vin asks if she loses her girlish figure, will she turn into a man? It's pretty good.
I also love the art on her face, like her just like smile about it, like she's proud of herself. Like she's proud of herself for making that joke.
So very fitting music right now. We've got Moment of Decision going. Followed immediately by Shadow of the Truth, I'm pretty sure. That's good. You know what, honestly, let me space those out a bit. Oh no, Cage. Move you. Let's try to space out the depressing songs a little bit, at least. Anyways. So, during the second act, I can't remember any of the second act. Second acts kind of tend to be the least interesting of the acts. Like, I think the only...
Because the second acts are usually like transitional periods from...
Yeah, it's supposed to set up how you went from the... wherever your standing was in the first act to whatever your standing is supposed to be for the rest of the plot to take place. So, I don't remember much of the second act at all, other than you do running, and Nurse appears, and you converse from time to time, and I think there might be a pillow fight at some point.
Oh, my favorite.
My favorite thing.
Is it like those scenes with Hanako and Lily where they're just in their pajamas for no reason?
No.
I love those scenes. Like, they weren't bad scenes, I just found it weird that they were just in their pajamas.
Oh, dude, you have to have fan service for the 4chan people.
Yeah, you have to have the kawaii and her... Oh, look, her pajamas are too big. Isn't that kawaii?
Hoi. There's no reason for them to be such. They just are.
You can't buy them that fit, that won't look kawaii enough.
Well, technically she does have no parents. It's probably believable that she'd be very poor.
Well, yeah, where'd she get her money from?
What if Lily bought it and didn't know it was too big because she's blind?
Well, if they're matching, I bought the same size.
Yeah.
And it's not a plot point, but it said a lot that Lily is like a giant compared
Anyways,
to like.
let's get back on topic. We are going way off. Way off. So, but it's really in the third act. I think, personally, that the way that her conflict is done, the way that it's executed, is pretty much flawless. Like, I personally don't think it's as strong as a conflict as the other routes might have, but in terms of execution, it was done perfectly. It is no Windows update. No. Postpone. 4 hours. Never again speak to me. Anyways. Stupid Windows update. What was I saying? Remind me. Windows update got in the way. What was I saying?
Windows 8? Windows 8 is superior in many ways. I would know. Windows 8 was my idea.
I invented Windows 8.
But wasn't that the marketing for Windows 7?
I don't know.
I think Windows 7 was my idea. Yeah, it sounds better. I think the marketing for Windows 8 was look at it. It's better now because it's like a tablet always because it's better.
So, like, basically, Emi's conflict is that she is not going to let Hisao get close to her. She has intimacy issues, and this is because her father died in a car crash, and it was the same one that lost her legs. So she's she feels very insecure about a lot of things, and she doesn't really like being told that she can't do anything on her own. And it is very clear that she has some deep-rooted psychological problems that Hisao wants to help her with and wants to help her get better. And she won't let him because she feels that he's trying to fix her, like she's something broken, like she needs help in order to get better and can't do it alone. So she just doesn't let Hisao get closer and doesn't understand why this might offend him. And that is really, really well done, the execution. The way she acts about it, the way Hisao reacts, the way it starts to color their actions with each other. There's also, you have a fight in her house and she kicks you out.
What? Wait,
I want to finish what I was saying first, just...
never mind. It's kind of a stupid joke. It's too. It was about her letting people getting close and making a stupid reference to a thing. Because she's like a grenade and she's gonna blow up or something. It's cancer.
You are? That is a stupid joke. How'd you know?
Oh god. People ruined that for me. I want you to know that. My school, like, that book,
What book?
Fault in Our Stars.
Never read that book.
It's fun. They made a movie about it, and everyone at school was like so hyped about it, and they ruined it for me because they were saying it was this revolutionary story.
What was that?
It's me.
Okay. So, anyways, so she kicks you out, and then you spend like a week, maybe a week and a half, where you just avoiding her and she's avoiding you, and like, it's just a really well done scene, and you can really seriously kind of feel it's mostly powerful because of the fact that normally Emi is very happy and Hisao is very happy, and watching them fall on these hard times where they stop being happy, it kind of sucks because you're used to the super happy versions of them where they're joking around and goofing off and just generally having fun and enjoying their lives, as opposed to sitting there brooding, and it's just well done. And then I don't like the ending. I can't speak for the other endings because I didn't really look at them, but the good ending at least is kind of just like, it says all these plot twists at you that are not plot twists because you've already figured them out, and then it ends. Act 4 is 3 scenes long. Let me tell you the entirety of Act 4. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Emi takes Hisao to a graveyard to see her dead father, and then explains all of the different things that she's been hiding from him. Then the two of them go back to school, and they do some things.
Storage shed? No storage shed?
No, not there. But anyways, and then they just kind of talk about nothing for a little while, and then it ends. There's no real closure. You don't really learn anything. Yes, it's, satisfying to kind of see she's finally opening up. She's finally starting to let other people into her life and help her overcome her problems. That's it. There's like less closure than roots that are intentionally left unclosed. There's not much to talk about in this route though, because it's kind of just really average.
Phil, what do you think about the bad ending?
I didn't see the bad ending. I was away.
Oh, so I know more than you do about everything.
Oh, I do get the gist of it though. She just kind of,
It's really like...
It is the same as the scene that happens on your way to the good ending if you are going down that path, because of the fact that you go after her. She just kind of it just
It's-
ends. It's just the official end of their relationship, and it just moves on.
It just feels.
Feels real.
Drew said that's probably one of those painful endings.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it
just
feels painful. Because like
it's
you,
just real. You could absolutely see something like that happening. It feels like the real, genuine way for that to go down, especially because of the fact that she's just so 100% okay with it. That was really the best part of that route, I'd say. The way that it contrasts how horribly torn up Hisao is about everything when compared to how Emi just kind of brushes it all off like it's nothing and then is amazed when you're getting frustrated about it.
and like how her as a character like doesn't feel close because like she doesn't want to feel close because she doesn't want it to hurt when they leave. So it makes sense that when you leave, she just doesn't care.
Yeah. So, honestly, though, there isn't really much more to talk about with Emi. Oh, wait, no. There is the big thing that bugs me about Emi.
Lemons.
Her art is atrocious, guys. Hold on, let me just spacebar real quick. This sums it up nicely. I do not enjoy Emi's art at all. Because she's not drawn as a human being.
Is she also cat?
Not in this particular picture, but in all of her actual sprite art, she is a cat. She has a mouth with 3 corners in like every single
she's
picture.
Her and she's made both her cats.
It is this stupid, generic anime dumb cutesy look that they give things that looks so retarded. Like I get that it's not unique to this game, but everything about her art, it just looks messy. The way it's sloppy. Her lines are messy and like not really well defined. It's all very muddled lines. Especially like if you compare it to Rin, who has very smooth, kind of sharpish lines that clearly define her shape when compared to the very messy kind of sketch look that Emi has. It's just a completely different beast. And I know you can't really see it from this picture because this is one of the still art pictures, but I'm gonna stop recording really quick and hop onto a picture that really shows one of the other problems that I have with a lot of the. Okay, so this picture here, you see this? You guys don't, but they do. She looks like a goddamn 10-year-old.
Yes.
But if you remember that last art piece that we were just looking at, she looks no shorter than any of the other people that are there. But then in half of the art, she's drawn like she's like 3 feet tall.
She is shorter than everybody. Like out of the characters, she's the shortest.
Yeah, but the artist cannot decide how tall they want this person to be. Sometimes it's to the point that like her head is at like shoulder level for Hisao, and sometimes it's at like goddamn like chest height. And I swear to God, I'm pretty sure like there's probably a picture out there where she's like knee height or something. She's like just
There is a picture. The one that I hate the most makes my way to up is the one where she's on the bed.
That's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, that one. That one, like, there are ones that make her look small and stuff, but that one, she genuinely just looks young. Like, her face, her eyes, just everything about her makes her look like a small child.
Look, this is not the face of an 18-year-old. This is a 10-year-old.
Like, it's fine. Like, her being short, like, it makes sense, because, like, her prosthetic legs would make her probably shorter. Like, it's nothing wrong with her being short, it's just her looking young.
She's drawn in a way they're trying so hard to make her, like, cutesy that it looks almost creepy sometimes. And I'm not a fan of her art. There's not a single picture in her route that is actually like well drawn, really. There are some that like in theory should be pretty good, but are not. They just don't work. So yeah, her art is bad, and it's very bad, and it's also very bad. So, I think though we've run out of things to say about this character.
Yep.
I think there's one more character to talk about. It should only take a couple minutes. Let's just get right on that. Alright, now we finish it off with my personal favorite.
I like this one I have the least knowledge of.
Yep, I'm actually going to... This is going to be mostly spoiler free because this is the only one that I have intentionally left Patrick in the dark about. So this one I'm not going to go in depth too much right now. Mostly because honestly, I kind of want to have a full episode devoted to this one. Because there's a lot to talk about. This is not as simple out like the other ones are. So, let's just start with the explanation. Rin has no arms, as you can clearly see here. She also is very likely autistic. She has no real filter. She just says whatever it is she feels like, whenever she feels like it. And not many people really understand why she does the things she does or why she says the things she says. She's an enigma to everybody.
Not even her closest friend.
Yep, not even Emmy, who is most likely her closest friend, actually understands what her deal is. And in fact, they are only friends because of the fact that they have a mutual understanding in which neither of them pries too deeply into each other's lives. Because Rin does not like being questioned, and Emmy does not like people getting close to her. What did you think of this character the first time you met her?
She's insane.
Is that all you have to say?
Well, it describes her. Like, even Hisao and Emmy, when they're talking about her, they can't really explain her.
She's just weird.
She
Why?
is weird. That's how they explain her, is just weird.
The first time I met Rin, I was not 100% sure what was going on. I was like, I didn't know what to expect, and I certainly didn't expect the ramblings of Rin. Because up until that point, the game had been mostly normal, you know? Like, there weren't many characters who were really weird, other than Kenji, who was very clearly comic relief. And then all of a sudden, Rin pops out, and like, at first, you know, she's talking a little bit weird, but whatever, you know? And then she's like, so what's your disability? and her first guess, her very first possible of all the things that she could have guessed.
Ants.
Immediately she goes for erectile dysfunction. That's just immediately what she thinks it is. That's her honest first guess.
Why would she? Why would he go to that school if that was his problem?
I can't study properly. There's something wrong with my tentacle.
Like he said, that's what he refers to it as his tackle. This is amazing. He like whispers to himself, "My tackle."
Is there something wrong with it? After all. So, yeah, the first time I met this character, I was just kind of in disbelief and shock. And I immediately told myself, okay, I'm going to continue going down Hanako's route, because I think it might be too late to turn back. But I'm definitely going for this next. This is going to be my second adventure. I love the sad songs coming on now, it's really fitting. So, I think the very first thing that this route does differently is its second act is not wasted. Because, in order for Hisao to be in the mental state in which he'd spend time with Rin in the first act, he has to be depressed. He has to have no other friends and no other options of people to spend time with other than Rin. So, the entirety of the second act is spent getting him out of that depression. And it is extremely well done, as you slowly start to realize that he isn't just kind of brooding, but he's like seriously got an issue going on. And then even better is actually watching him get past it all. There's like 0 times where you actually feel for Hisao as a character in a way that isn't shared with you. Like, most of the time it's something like you might feel bad because Hisao is experiencing something, but you're basically experiencing the same thing, just on a smaller scale. But you are not, living with the reality that you only have probably another 15 years to live before you die, which is what he's going through. So it's one of the few acts in the game where Hisao actually gets some serious development and where you actually kind of feel bad for him. Because most of the time they don't really talk about his disability in anything other than like passing mention. Like, in Emmy's route it's kind of a big deal, but you're also getting better, so who cares. In Lily's route it's a big deal, but only to Lily. In Shizune and Hanako, it's like might as well not even be there. There's no point to it.
Yeah,
But Rin's is the only route that deals with the mental implications, not the physical implications of the condition he has. Which is extremely fitting because Rin doesn't deal with the physical problems brought on by her disability either. It deals with the mental problems that she has.
for always needing someone to do basic things.
No.
No. Well, I don't know the route. Sorry.
You don't, Scrub.
I don't know this character. Like, I don't have a stupid command in Drewby's chat.
If you really want me to, you know what I can do actually? I can mute my mic on Skype whenever I start talking about spoiler stuff, and then you can just not watch this part of the video.
Probably not gonna watch the video.
Wow, Scrub.
Are you?
No.
God damn it.
So I'll just mute my mic, okay? Whenever we get to spoiler parts, that I can actually discuss that.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna open up the Skype window so I have mute on demand.
Is Noreen still here?
Of course. So
Let's listen to some of the best artists while you talk about.
I'm not muting right now.
Yeah, I'm just getting it ready.
So and it's just really well done, the second act. It's one of the few that isn't like, it doesn't feel like it's just bridging the gap between another part. It is telling its own smaller story that needs to be told in order to lead up to Rin's larger story. And I didn't really notice it my first time through. I was definitely really interested in the second act of the game my first time through. It wasn't until my second time going through it that I really kind of realized that Hisao was kind of depressed. I don't know why I didn't notice it the first time. I was probably just really tired, but I didn't. And Act 2 is like on its own heavier than some of the other routes ever get.
Well, it really kind of hampers in the fact that how serious this problem is.
Yeah.
Like Lily's does, but they don't actually hammer on the fact that he's gonna die at the age of like 30, unless you go down like Emmy's route.
Yeah.
The only actor where he betters himself physically.
And then we have Act 3, which is even more soul-crushing. I'm going to mute while I discuss this.
Cast around some of the best artists real quick.
Alright. I'm also going to mute Skype for a while I discuss this, okay?
So you won't be able to hear me either?
Nope. And I'll unmute both at the same time. So I'm going to be going solo for a while. So I'll see you in a bit.
Let's talk about how stupid you are.
He can't even hear me right now. He doesn't know that I'm calling him a goddamn idiot. Alright. So. I'll turn up the music slightly to kind of fill in that background noise. And I'll continue along. So. Throughout the third act, Rin is she starts her gallery. I didn't really finish explaining Rin, did I? Oops. I kinda got swept up. She's an artist. She paints with her feet. And she was being pressured by her art teacher, Nomiya, to sign up for this art gallery. And at the end of the second act, she agrees to do so due to some pressure from Hisao. And in the third act, she starts experiencing artist's block because she doesn't know what to paint. And she eventually comes to the decision that the only way for her to start painting what she needs to paint is to self-destruct and start deconstructing her life, and she's basically destroying herself, expending her own body, just in order to get more paintings out. As this is happening, he starts trying to figure out exactly where he stands with Rin, because in the second act they do kiss, but she's kind of under the effects of copious amounts of codeine, so he doesn't really know if it was anything genuine or not. And well, so I'm trying to formulate my thoughts on the go here. It's kind of hard. The big thing about Act 2 is that watching Rin hurt herself in pursuit of art is extremely painful, especially once you realize that she does not enjoy the art. Because you see, Rin does not use art as a means to make art. She uses it as a means to express herself because she doesn't know how to do it with her own words. People don't understand her when she speaks using words. And she thinks that because a painting is more abstract, she can paint the more abstract concepts in her life. The mere concept of a thought rather than the wording of a thought. Because, face it, how many times have you known exactly what you think in your head and then you just tried to get it all out with words and it's been completely impossible? It's even harder for Rin because she just doesn't know how to interact with people. She believes that art and paintings will kind of allow people to get this window into her mind and kind of truly understand her. But ultimately what she doesn't realize is words are just another way of expressing herself, just as art is. And if she can't express herself using words, she's not going to be able to express herself using art. Because nobody can really just miraculously understand you just like that, you know? So, throughout the third act, Hisao is trying to understand Rin. And Rin is a very, very frustrating person to try to get to know. She's unpredictable, she's odd, she's just, you know, she's not normal. So Hisao kinda tries to, like, solve her like she's some kind of puzzle. And it's not until some time passes that he realizes that he doesn't really need to understand. Like, all Rin needs is somebody there who will try to understand. Everybody else either does not try to understand at all, or tries to make her explain to them. They try to force her to make them understand, rather than trying to understand themselves. Or they just completely ignore her, brushing her off as basically real, you know, living, breathing comic relief. Emi falls into that latter category, using her basically because she says strange, odd things, and those make her laugh, and that is it. It's an extremely inoffensive friend who says odd things, and is just basically almost a toy for Emi. Just kind of something that spouts words. Then there are the people who try to forcefully make Rin explain to her concepts and her thoughts and her feelings, including basically everyone in the gallery at the very end of the game. Excuse me. So, the third act is just one punch to the gut after another, over and over and over and over again. And every single time there's a recovery period, a moment where things start looking like they're gonna get better, and then another punch to the gut. She sends you away for an entire week, telling you to never return until she's done painting so that she can focus. And you return, and she is utterly broken. You walk into her atelier where she's been doing all of her painting to find her sitting there on the ground. She's feverish. She hasn't been eating or drinking properly. She is basically falling apart, not just mentally but physically as well, due to how far she's pushing herself to get this art done, just because she desperately wants to be understood, and she feels like the gallery is the only way to make this happen. Specifically, she's doing the gallery for Hisao, even though he doesn't really know it, and honestly, most of the problems in the route would never ever happen if not for Hisao. He is both the cause and solution to all of the problems in the story. So now, Rin is basically falling apart, and you appear there to comfort her, much in the same way you comfort some other characters. And then she promptly asks you to forget all about it and tells you to once again leave and not come back. Understandably, this makes Hisao angry. And the next time they meet, 6 days later, he has been spending the last 6 days just kinda wallowing in his rage. He's very angry, he feels used, he feels ignored, you know. And then she shows up out of nowhere and immediately tries to force herself onto him. And this causes him to blow the hell up in probably one of the hardest scenes in the game to watch. Hisao, in all of the routes, is not the kind of person to get really angry. And watching him get angry sucks. And watching Rin deal with him getting angry sucks more. Because Rin is like normally very unfazed by the things that go on around her. There are not many things that really grab her attention emotionally. She's not the kind of person to really express any kind of emotion or any kind of reaction to any kind of problem. So seeing her react to so strongly to the things Hisao says in this scene really puts into perspective exactly how much she cares about his opinion. Deep breaths as I formulate my thoughts. Fourth act is all about just the gallery. None of the stuff in fourth act is about preparing for the gallery anymore. It is the days leading up to and the aftermath of the gallery. Ultimately, you reach the day of the gallery, and Rin snaps under the pressure of all of the people questioning her, as they constantly pester her more and more and more and more to try and give her some answers. So she breaks. You then have to take her outside and you talk a while, and she ultimately makes the decision that she needs to be herself and she is not an artist. This causes, a few scenes later, Nomiya to blow up because he has spent the past few months of his life trying to get everything set up so that Rin can live the kind of life that he personally always dreamt of, this kind of perfect life where you get all the connections you need to make it big in the art world. It is a life that he views as very idyllic and cannot understand why Rin would give it up, because he makes no attempt to try to see things from her perspective, only seeing them from the perspective of an artist, not from the perspective of Rin. This is a scene that is eerily reminiscent of the scene where you yelled at her, with the biggest difference being she doesn't react so strongly to what he is saying. She defends herself, which she didn't do with you. She does not, during that scene, express any kind of regret or anger or sadness or anything due to being yelled at, because ultimately it is Hisao's approval that she seeks. And these things put into perspective, you know, how awful it was to yell at her, and exactly how much she cares about Hisao. And then when you go in there to console her, she feels like it's all her fault. Everything. All of the people who are angry at her all the time, basically, she believed that Nomiya was her friend and that he wanted the best for her. And she believed that you were the same. But after you blew up on her and after Nomiya blows up on her, she doesn't really know what she's doing wrong. She's trying to make people understand, but every single time she tries, things just get worse and worse and worse and worse. So, I know I'm just kind of recapping the plot, but that's kind of important because I'm trying to figure out what I want to say next. I want to say something about this scene, but it's something that you really need to see in context, really. But god damn it, not this song. Please, for the love of God. So, this is probably not the lowest Rin ever gets, but certainly very close to it. She feels like everybody close to her hates her. She honestly believes that she has managed to do everything wrong, and even worse, she doesn't know what it is that she's doing wrong. She doesn't know how to fix it. She doesn't know why everything seems to be blowing up in her face. She doesn't know why everybody who she thought was very close to her and cared for her is now all of a sudden doing all the things that she wishes people would never ever do. Start asking questions, start getting angry, getting loud. Things that she just doesn't appreciate people doing. And so, ultimately, I don't really want to get into the super specifics of the ending and exactly how it plays out, but the ending scene and the ending line and the ending art and all of it is probably, I'd say it's flawless. If I had to choose a word, it's just an incredibly well done, satisfying ending that really ties together a completely soul-crushingly oppressive route. Like, throughout the third act, especially towards the end of it, I felt like actually short of breath just from the stress and distress being caused by the root. And a couple minutes I'll add Patrick back. I'm just gonna talk a little bit more about the themes and symbolism, and then I'll call him in and ask him for his opinions on the thing so far, and then we will get into the game as a whole, and that will wrap things up. The Rin's route is not just well written as a story, it is beautifully written, and I mean like words wise. The way scenes are described, the atmosphere, just everything is written flawlessly. Even though you have the visual kind of aid to help visualize the way a character looks and the way a scene looks, the narration makes it all the better, because it is extremely well done, it is written beautifully, and there's also a lot of very tiny details in the writing, not words wise but story wise, with a lot of themes, symbolism, foreshadowing, that kind of stuff. Characters who say things that at the time seem like the right thing to say. They seem like good things to say to somebody. Especially at the time you feel like that is correct. A lot of things Nomiya says, or Nomiya, or Nizba. He says a lot of things about the nature of art that sound extremely correct, and you start agreeing with him until you start to see Rin. And from Rin's point of view, basically everything Nomiya says is wrong. He believes that artists don't paint because they can, but because they must, whereas Rin is the exact opposite. She believes that she paints not because she must, but just because she can. It is one of the few things she can do well. It's one of the few talents she has, and so that is why she paints. Not because she feels like it's her duty, but because it's one of the few things she's good at, and one of the few things she feels like she's understood when she does. There's also there's tons of symbolism, especially in terms of change. There's a field of dandelions that both Act 2 and Act 4 end on, where at the end of Act 2 they are still yellow, they are flowers, whereas in Act 4 they have turned white, they are now seeds, they are now changed. There's also a lot of emphasis on time and time passing. Hisao gets a watch, pays a lot of attention to it. In the bad ending, when he returns to his room and ultimately decides to give up on Rin, he places the watch on his bedside table, symbolizing the end of his relationship with Rin. Where there are many scenes that will begin at Marine and Patrick are concerned because I'm taking a while. Yeah, so let's wrap this up. There's, it will start at day and maybe end at dusk, or end at sunset, or sunset and end at the night, or there's a scene where you're walking through the city and that starts at night and goes on till sunset. There's the scene that ends Act 1, which literally goes from like 9 in the morning until the end of the end of the day. It's night, the fireworks are going off, and just all of this emphasis on time passing, which is also a form of change. Just a lot of this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of other things. There's the fact that Hiso has the arrhythmic heartbeat. Rin obviously doesn't. And as such, their heartbeats are obviously out of sync until the very last scene of the game. Their footsteps often fall in and out of sync as well, depending on whether or not they are mentally in or out of sync. If they are getting closer to each other, then their footsteps are even, and if they are not, then the footsteps are odd and off, and well. So, I don't really have anything else to say that I can say alone. I've written about it on my site. I'll make sure that there's a link to that in the description so that you can see my more concise and less scatterbrained thoughts. But I will do a full episode on Rin after both me and after Patrick has beaten it, and I'll do it alongside Cole as well, and we'll all talk about it together. And it will be a big, huge thing, because Rin's route is not just a route, it's woven like a quilt. It is very complex. It deals with themes that the other routes wouldn't dare touch with a 10-foot pole. It asks questions about human nature, about what it means to be a friend, things that other routes don't even really consider, such as the mental implications of Hiso's affliction, or the the many problems that come with just, Rin's route kind of changed the way I view a lot of things in the world, just in general. The way I view my social interactions and my circles of friends at school, and the way I viewed my outlook on the future and what I plan on doing with my life. These were all things that I never really thought about until I played through Rin's route, and then I really started considering who I kind of was. It made me realize a lot of things, like I don't really feel like I'm Aiden to a lot of people. It felt a lot more like I was just that kid. Like I was the living, walking comic relief, the strange guy who says strange things every once in a while and is mildly entertaining. And it wasn't until after I played this route that I made a serious attempt to try to actually have a serious conversation with some of these people I had met over the school year, and try to get to know some of them, but by then it was honestly too late. I didn't have the time. There wasn't enough time left in the school year to make any serious friends. So these were all things I kind of considered and mulled over during and after Rin's route. And that's part of the reason why I can't really get my thoughts out in just a short amount of time. There's just so much to say, so much to talk about, that it would just be too hard to do all of this in just one simple thing. So, episode 2 of our podcast will probably be shorter than this one, but it will be all about Rin. Only Rin. And we're gonna go super in depth. We're gonna tear this thing apart. We're gonna dissect this route. But right now, I don't have anything else to say alone. I'm gonna go unmute, and we'll wrap this up. So, now that we finished the part where it was just me, Patrick, based on your limited experience of Rin's route, what are your thoughts so far on just the second act, what little you've seen of it?
Well, I've played it over like 7 months.
One?
Well, it's, okay. It's, I don't know. It's okay. Okay.
He hasn't gone very far in it. We are like only maybe a quarter of the way into the second act, maybe only a fifth. So
I kind of like it being like, I can see like, I don't know. I feel like there are things that are gonna happen. They're being built up, sort of like themes.
There's a lot of theming that happens in this route.
I feel like they're gonna come back, but like other things have happened. Just join the club. Not the club. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
He joined the club.
It's like 4 in the morning, and okay. So, join the club, and then she said that you just look sad. That's kind of what's happened. There's been other things that have happened, but like that's basically.
Right now, what it's mostly doing is it's setting up a little bit about Rin's basic personality from Hisao's perspective. It's setting up Hisao's current mental state, and it's putting the pieces in place for how he will get better and for how he relates to Rin throughout most of the third act. It is bridging the gap between the first act and the third act, but it's also actually accomplishing its own self-contained storyline in the form of Hisao getting over his depression. Also, for the record, the reason why I was muted for so long was because I went like super in-depth about basically everything past the second act. So, that took about half an hour. And
I was listening to Iggy Azalea the entire time.
that's the bad thing to do.
And I introduced. Snorri, how'd you feel about Iggy Azalea?
That was brilliant.
Really?
In the first act, when Iggy Azalea first appears, what was your first impression of the Iggy Azalea before you went down the Iggy Azalea route?
Yeah, when you first meet her, she's fucking in the desert in high heels.
I thought it was very impractical to walk down in the middle of nowhere in high heels.
I think that's just a theory.
That
Don't say it, we're gonna get copyright infringement by BioWare.
a BLC theory.
Smart guy. So,
Did you let the community decide?
now, just before we wrap this all up, I say we start going and we just talk about the game as a whole, just for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then that'll be it. And second episode will be once Patrick's actually finished the route. We'll get Cole in on it, and we'll make it a big thing. We'll make a day of it.
But Cole is your only listener.
So now we will do this. Patrick,
Yep.
what are your thoughts on the game as a whole? Overall, the sum of all of its parts.
It's better than it deserves to be. It doesn't have a right to be as good as it is.
It is absolutely a fluke.
Yeah. Like I'm really surprised how well it took its like subject matter and stuff, and wasn't this weird fetishy monstrosity.
That's basically what I thought it was gonna be. And honestly, like, it was tastefully done. It was surprisingly well written.
Even
Honestly,
like
for like a game that was made on a zero budget, has surprisingly good production values in
And-
terms of soundtrack and art quality.
even the weird sex scenes that really had no point existing weren't these weird fetishy things.
Well, those had to be there, or else the 4chan people would never play it. Let's be honest.
But like even the scenes that are really weird and sexual aren't fetishy monstrosities.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think that, like, it's just... the thing that blew me away the most is just exactly how well written it is. Because it's not a typical story. It is, like, as I said before, it is very much trying to show the darker sides of a lot of standard character tropes that you see in a lot of similar media. Like, if you break down all the characters to the, the basic core concept, you've got shy character, bossy character, feisty character, happy character, shy character, weird character, protagonist man. And then it breaks down
And the
all of those
renegade
little...
who must defeat the feminist conspiracy.
the anti-hero.
But
It breaks down all of these character tropes to kind of show what, in a more realistic space, how those characters would kind of grow and expand, and what would they be. No person is actually that happy all the time, you know? No character can honestly just be shy and nothing else. Somebody can't just be weird and then have no problems associated with being a weirdo. You can't be super bossy all the time and also try to make everybody happy around you and blah blah blah. You can't be all super nice and prim and proper and everything. Like, it just shows either the consequences or the backstory that would lead to these personalities. If that makes sense. It's just kind of trying to show the more realistic side of things. And I think that's an interesting idea. It's something that you don't really see happen too often. And it's done well, so, I mean, good on them. They didn't just make some piece of crap, they made, like, something seriously good. And, yeah. My thoughts on the game as a whole aren't really complex.
Yeah, it's a good game. 2 out of 10. Everyone should play it.
Extremely good game. 2 out of 5. Please play.
The uplifting ending where she is gunned down.
2 out of 5.
Yeah, with the rating like that, you can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. Actually, let's think of a couple. Let's just real quick list, like, the serious flaws that the game has. Seriously conflicting art styles, especially in scenes where you have multiple characters from very different art schools sitting all right next to each other. There's one scene where you've got, like, Hanako, Lily, Emmy, and Rin all sitting right next to each other, and all of them have completely different art styles going for them, and it's really weird.
And even Kisao.
Hisao's a goddamn retard. Hisao's
And-
always drawn horribly. He is incapable of being drawn as a normal person. He's got to be making some weird face, and he constantly fluctuates between having some really roundish, like, bulgy baby face, or this really sharp, angular, edgy face, and it can't decide which one it wants to be.
He's a normal person.
What was that?
Except they don't draw him as a normal person.
No, they just don't draw him
He isn't a
consistently.
normal person. So, yeah.
And then Shizune's route is awful.
No,
That's a fairly big flaw.
it's since it's made by 4chan, it's kind of bound a little bit by needing to be sexual. Like Hanako's written very like she's supposed to be very ugly, but they couldn't draw her that ugly.
Yeah, I feel like in order to get their point across with kind of reversing your expectations of how a character is supposed to be, they first have to bait you into thinking you're going to be reading a story about a typical character. Of course, the way that they do this is they use typical cutesy art styles and over-sexualized characters at times, and it's annoying. Especially like this picture right here. Look at goddamn Hanako. This is supposed to be an ugly, like horribly scarred person. Honestly, it's just kind of like all of it's hidden by her hair, anyways. So,
Just imagine Two-Face from The Dark Knight. It's seem all skin on that side of her face, and
Harvey
a big
Dent.
bulging eye.
That's something I wondered. Is she blind in that eye?
No. No, she's not.
Okay.
I think. Well, art, cause, like, there's some pictures of her where, like, the hair is off that side of the face, like one picture where she's angry at you.
No, it's not even that. It's there are pictures where her eye just shows through the hair. Because it's anime and they have weird ways of doing hair and how it reacts with eyes. Like you can see her eyebrow in this picture is layered over top of her hair and shows a little bit of like her eyelid. And it's very odd. But anyways.
And I'm looking at a picture of her right now. She's lying in her bed and she's all sad. She opens both eyes to respond to you, so I guess they both work.
Yeah. I don't, there's really not much more to say at this point. It's kind of 4 in the morning.
Oh, kind of here. Best picture.
Final verdict on the game so far is
It's an experience.
it is an experience. It's not a very good game, but it's something that like
It was a book.
it's not a game, it's a book. It's an extremely good book. And it's kind of something that like I feel like if there wasn't just kind of the stigma attached to just its genre, it would be a lot more popular than it actually is. You know?
Yeah. Some.
You know what I just realized?
What?
I thought that the keys on my keyboard were really, really shiny, but actually, it's just because my fingers are always resting on either Q, W, E, R spacebar or W, A, S, D spacebar, so all of those keys are really worn out. Like, I can see exactly where my hand rests on the keyboard, and it's all faded.
That's good. That's like a certain television show about a ghost, a werewolf, and a vampire.
Okay,
Stigma
so
about it,
anyways,
but it's very good.
So next time I'll get Colin on this. Patrick, I'll either get him to beat the route on his own or beat it with me. I'll probably get him to do it on his own because it's taken us 10 hours to get just a little bit into the second act. So I think he'll progress a lot quicker if I just let him play it through. And yep, that's gonna be the end of that. So that was this us cast, Podman cast,
The classic guy cast.
classic guy cast,
Cat cast.
cast.
Cast. It's like stuttering. That's all it is.
Cast.
Nice stuttering back up.
For time not found. So, if you, for whatever reason, you decide to sit through this like 5-hour-long video, 4-hour-long video of nothing for a game you've never played, feel free to go download it. Like. After spending 4 hours watching our video, he's like, "Oh, this sounds like a cool game."
Wow, his name.
And I promise we'll upload more League of Legends if I can actually get some interesting footage. I swear. If I need to, I will use my LoL replay files and do post-match recordings just to get some kind of content out there. And other than that, I just really have one more thing that I need to do. Just before we finish this off, I hope you guys don't mind it too much, but I think it's an integral part of any video that I make for this channel.
That wizard came from the moon. 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 That wizard came from the moon.